On the Steve Harvey clip that went viral, I would say we must remember like the consumers of that kind of narrative, because
Mm.
um, even if you look at the stats that were presented, like just exclusively for the shade room, you would see that the audience that would be happy with what he's saying is actually getting what he's saying. With regard to the weight issue, it's really interesting right now in the world, because here in Kenya and most parts of Africa, it's the opposite, because people are underweight because there's no food in most in most places. So it's really, yeah, it's really baffling, or it's a sad irony that in the West or in the developed countries, um, people are overweight, and then in other parts of the world, uh, people who wish they had food.
No,
Kudos,
but can
good
I
show.
ask you?
Yeah.
That's an interesting perspective. That shows how gluttonous we are here, and how we, when women say they have it hard, but yet you are obese or overweight, which a large majority of the women in our Black community are. The majority are. And you say you have it
Right.
hard and this, that, and the other. You don't know what real struggle is. You don't know what is like. Some of you may have gone hungry when you're young, or you having a difficult situation. But as a mass population, you don't know what real stuff is, that people, real hardship of what's going on in this world. And that's why you sit from a place of privilege, even as a Black woman in the US, to even fix your mouth and say, how difficult it is for you to do this, that, and the other. I wanted to ask you really quickly, what's the dating scene there in Kenya compared to here from what
Well,
you've seen?
just to give those who may not know a rough idea of Kenya, because not everyone knows about here. Kenya is more or less the size of Texas. So the whole country is the size of Texas. I think we're slightly smaller, but modernity, I think, has spread all over the world, more than people think. If you came to Nairobi, which is the capital city, you'd barely find a difference between visiting Nairobi and, say, a city like London or New York in terms of the urban culture, the buzzwords such as feminism and all these things, which Bob Marley called ism, schism games. So it's pretty much the same in terms of the urban centers. But if you go to the rural areas, it's totally different. And just to quickly pull an example from a previous video you've done about Tanzanian women being feminine, I wouldn't really say that picture was painted well, because most women in Kenya who are considered modern women are very much the same as the women in any other developed country all over the world.
Would you say it's mostly in the big cities, or if you go more into the suburbs or the villages and things, are the women different?
Yes, it's not as prevalent as it is, say, in the US, because I mean the US is it's a continent. And even if you pick Texas alone, which I'm more familiar with since my family is there, if you're to take Dallas, for example, and compare it with Nairobi, it's pretty much similar in terms of the youth culture. But other parts of of Kenya, we have 47 counties. The other 46 counties, other than Nairobi, tend to be very conservative in how they carry themselves, because for the most part they are agricultural in terms of livelihoods. But nonetheless, because of the influx of the internet, which is a good thing because more people can access information, there's also been an undertow. And the undertow has been, I know this may sound like a bad thing, but it's a reality. Young girls are now getting quick money on TikTok, like doing some ratchet dances and all that stuff. There's onlyfans now. So you would not be surprised that the person who is in the rural village, like right now, there's a Kenyan girl who is trending because she does these viral videos from the rural village on TikTok, and she's making hundreds of thousands of Kenya shillings.
Wow. So the
Yeah.
rural women are doing OnlyFans now, even though they come from
What,
traditional families and traditional things, or they're looking for clout and money, essentially, which, I don't know their economic circumstances, which it can help the family. But regardless, they're choosing, to basically, use their body or be sexualized in order to make money, or really probably attention as well. Do you feel as though, and it is my last question, and we're gonna get to the next thing, guys, do you feel as though these women are doing it for the same reason women do it in the West? Like, I mean, we know money, but does that money help? Are they using it to help support their family, support, their village and things like that? Like, are they using it at least for some good and not just consumption of like
To be
goods and
fair,
shopping and all that stuff?
to be fair, I don't have the statistics. I will not lie to you. I do not have the stats on that, and I would hate to generalize. But I can tell you for a fact that it's, I mean, when you say something like there are many people doing this, many does not mean majority. So if you have one, for example, you have one person doing this in a rural setting that's known to be conservative, that could be many.
Wow, that was amazing, guys. We got to start talking to I think men and women in other countries and seeing like what this influence is doing, because I think we think this is just in the West, but it's everything starts in the West and it spreads out because we are the media, social media powerhouses in other countries. Look for us culturally, like the young people, the young culture, they look to us, they're influenced heavily. Like I'm always surprised when people, like I've met people in different countries and it'd be like, I was just like, oh yeah, this show called Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, you probably never heard it. It's like, yeah, I grew up with that and all of this other. I'm like, wait, you grew up with Fresh Prince of Bel-Air? They grew up with seeing a lot of the things we